Language Foundations Vocabulary Flashcards, helping you achieve understanding.
Become dry or drier. The laundry dries in the sun. A reformer who opposes the use of intoxicating beverages. Lacking interest or stimulation, dull and lifeless. A dry book. Humorously sarcastic or mocking. Dry humor. Remove the moisture from and make dry. Dry clothes. Practicing complete abstinence from alcoholic beverages. He's been dry for 10 years. Free from liquid or moisture. Lacking natural or normal moisture or depleted of water, or no longer wet. Dry land. Having a large proportion of strong liquor. A very dry martini is almost straight gin. Having no adornment or coloration. Dry facts. Lacking warmth or emotional involvement. A dry greeting. Not producing milk. A dry cow. Not shedding tears. Dry sobs. Of food, eaten without a spread or sauce or other garnish. Dry toast. Of liquor, having a low residual sugar content because of decomposition of sugar during fermentation. A dry white burgundy. Unproductive, especially of the expected results. A dry run. Used of solid substances in contrast with liquid ones. Dry weight. Lacking moisture or volatile components. Dry paint. Opposed to or prohibiting the production and sale of alcoholic beverages. The dry vote led by preachers and bootleggers. Without a mucus or watery discharge. A dry cough. Become dry or drier. Remove the moisture from and make dry. Become empty of water. A reformer who opposes the use of intoxicating beverages. Lacking interest or stimulation, dull and lifeless. Dull and juiceless as only book knowledge can be when it is unrelated to life. Lacking juice. Characterized by often poignant difference or incongruity between what is expected and what actually is. Madness, an ironic fate for such a clear thinker. Humorously sarcastic or mocking. An ironic remark often conveys an intended meaning obliquely. Characterized by often poignant difference or incongruity between what is expected and what actually is. It was ironical that the well-planned scheme failed so completely. Humorously sarcastic or mocking. An ironical smile. Humorously sarcastic or mocking. With a wry Scottish wit. Bent to one side. A wry neck. Practicing complete abstinence from alcoholic beverages. No thank you, I happen to be teetotal. Practice teetotalism and abstain from the consumption of alcoholic beverages. Not stimulating. Not stimulating. Not exciting. An unexciting novel. Full of or characterized by humor. Full of or characterized by humor. Humorous stories. Become sober after excessive alcohol consumption. Keep him in bed until he sobers up. Become more realistic. After thinking about the potential consequences of his plan, he sobered up. Lacking brightness or color, dull. Sober Puritan gray. Completely lacking in playfulness. Dignified and somber in manner or character and committed to keeping promises. As sober as a judge. Cause to become sober. A sobering thought. Not affected by a chemical substance, especially alcohol. Cause to wither or parch from exposure to heat. Become superficially burned. Used especially of vegetation, having lost all moisture. Burned slightly and superficially so as to affect color. Make very hot and dry. Dried out by heat or excessive exposure to sunlight. A vast desert all adust. Burned brown by the sun. Of an adust complexion. Made dry by contact with unheated air. Not giving off moisture on exposure to the air. Lacking vitality or spirit, lifeless. A technically perfect but arid performance of the sonata. Lacking sufficient water or rainfall. An arid climate. Dried out by heat or excessive exposure to sunlight. Land lying baked in the heat. Bread and pastries, cooked by dry heat, as in an oven. Baked goods. Without a trace of moisture, as dry as a weathered bone. Bone-dry leaves or a fire hazard. Without a trace of moisture, as dry as a weathered bone. A dryer to get the clothes bone dry. Lacking vitality or spirit, lifeless. A prissy and emotionless creature settles into a mold of desiccated snobbery. Thoroughly dried out. Old boxes of desiccated Cuban cigars. Preserved by removing natural moisture. Shredded and desiccated coconut meat. Preserved by removing natural moisture. Dried beef. Not still wet. The ink has dried. Thoroughly dried out. Dried out boards beginning to split. Used especially of vegetation, having lost all moisture. Dried up grass. Depleted of water. A dried up waterhole. Having or keeping the feet or shoes dry. A land bridge over which man and beasts could have crossed dry shod. Dried in a kiln. Dried out by heat or excessive exposure to sunlight. Parched soil. Toasted or roasted slightly. Parched corn was a staple of the Indian diet. Lacking rain. A rainless month. Dried out by heat or excessive exposure to sunlight. The earth was scorched and bare. Having everything destroyed so nothing is left salvageable by an enemy. Sherman's scorched earth policy. Somewhat dry. Swabbing left the deck semi-dry but still slippery.
Become our student and get access to effective and free educational materials. Subscribe to our YouTube channel to become a part of our growing YouTube community and to learn English effectively.